Hi, this is Jenna Harte, author of the Valentine Mystery series, and I thought it might be fun to share 5 interesting factoids about Deadly Valentine. At the start of the book, I was working on one thing, but by the time I was done and it got to you, so many things had changed. Many plot points, things were added, things were taken away, and I thought it would be fun to share some of the things that I did, and you can decide whether they were good choices or bad choices. I think they're good choices, but I'll let you know what they are and you can let me know what you think. Factoid number 1. Tess was not the original name I went with in the book. Her name started out as Kate, and ultimately Kate became the name of her friend. I'm not quite sure why I ultimately didn't like Kate as a name, but I went through a lot of different names. I went from Kate, I tried Alex and Alexis. I was looking for names that could be feminine and yet at the same time strong. And it took a long time, like years, to find the name Tess. And what I would do is I would just try names. I would use my search and replace and enter a female name that I thought might work, and I would read it and it would work or it wouldn't. And Tess was finally the name that when I inserted it into the story, it really seemed to work. Factoid number 2. In one version of the book, Jack and Tess were already married at the start of the book. The book actually starts out with them in the morning. They've gotten up and they're getting dressed and they're having breakfast, and the police come to the door to let them know that Asa has been murdered, and the police want to talk to them because Jack and Tess were at the party at Asa's the night before. I do like books and movies and TV shows and things like that that have to do with committed or married couples who get in trouble, which is why I'm writing Deadly Valentine. It's why I also write the Delacour series. So that's really what I started with, but ultimately I decided let's just go back to the beginning to how they got together and work through there. So I ended up scrapping that version. Factoid number 3. In earlier versions, Jack had a half-sister. I don't know if you remember, but Jack's father died when he was young. He was a police officer who was killed in the line of duty when Jack was about 12. So it would be conceivable that his mom would remarry and that there would be a child or even more children. And so I had given Jack a half-sister whom he took care of and he was devoted on. She was in college at the start of Deadly Valentine. But as I was going through and making decisions about the mystery and coming up with the secrets and all that kind of stuff, she didn't really work, so I scrapped her for Cora, which I think is a better choice. Cora is really fun to write. She's quite a character. She gives Jack and Tess a run for their money, so I was really happy that I went with that choice. Factoid number 4. Tess's interest in lingerie was added in the very last draft. The reason is that when you're creating characters, you want them to have depth and dimension. And when I was first writing this, a lot of the stuff was happening, but Tess was sort of flat and not very interesting in many cases, and I knew I needed to add things to make her more interesting. And I tried a lot of different things. My sister suggested actually that she be interested in mechanics or know a lot about car mechanics, but in order to do that, I would have to learn about car mechanics, and I really wasn't interested in doing that. I can't quite say how I came up with the idea of lingerie, because she likes chocolate and I could use chocolate, but a lot of mystery writers and other writers use chocolate, so I was looking for something different and ultimately came up with lingerie. It turned out, I think, to be a good choice because it plays in future books. The other thing is that once I made the decision about the lingerie, I had to go back and rewrite parts of it to input that information. For example, in the scene where Jack takes Tess home because she's sick, at the beginning of the book she mentions her lingerie in that scene. So I had to go back and add it through and weave it in. And of course, now that I know that she has that interest, it's much easier to weave it into the books. Factoid number 5. When the book was originally pitched, it was pitched as a mystery novel to agents, and there were no explicit love scenes in it. And it did actually start with some love scenes, but I took them out, and the reason is because I knew I was going to pitch it as a mystery novel. Because it is lighthearted, the way it is written, I thought it would fit best in the cozy category, and cozy readers generally don't like to have violence or sex or any of those things in their books. Now that is not, I don't want to say that's a done deal because someone listening is probably going to say, well, I don't mind it. But a lot of people do. And when you're pitching to traditional publishing, you have to sort of stay in the lane and give them what they want. But an agent that was really interested in the book came back to me and said, you know what, you should just ramp up the heat factor and sell it as a romance novel. Well, I still really wanted to write a series. I had other stories for Jack and Tess, so I really couldn't sell it just as a romance novel, but I decided to go ahead and ramp up those bits and continue to market it as a mystery romance novel. And because I'm doing it myself, I'm able to sort of create my own lane, and I'm able to find the readers who are like me, who like hearted mysteries, like romance, like them intertwined, and they like to have ongoing. They like to see what happens to these people at the end of book one and see how the relationship develops. So those are 5 factoids about how Deadly Valentine started and ended up, and I hope that you enjoy Deadly Valentine. I'm very excited about it. It reached the quarterfinals in the Amazon Breakthrough Novel Award in 2013 and got a really nice review from Publishers Weekly. And if you haven't read it and want to learn more, you can learn more about Deadly Valentine. You can learn more about Jack and Tess and the other books in the Valentine series by visiting my website at jennaharte.com.